This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And we're always glad to have back with us on the set, Mike Sobera. Mike, thanks for being here.
Mr. Keith, good afternoon. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate that. Of course, Mike, the general manager of Terrebonne Consolidated Waterworks. And, you know, Mike, a lot of the things we talk about this all the time. A lot of times you got to come on to kind of talk about situations where there's a concern or a worry. I'm excited that today we get to talk about some of the really good things about your policies and procedures and how people can feel really confident in the water that we have.
While I got my hair cut, so it's not blowing in the big wind out there, and I'm really in summer clothes, no heavy jacket for freezers.
That's right.
But yes, and of course, as everyone I know knows already, water is, after air, the most important thing. You know, you need it, you got to have it. There was an article in which one of the engineers quoted that people have come to demand good drinking water, to demand it. And that's the first time that I ever thought of it that way, but it's right.
Yeah.
You know, and of course his response was it takes money and time to do that. And I think we're very fortunate here in Terrebonne Parish that we have done a good job.
Right.
We'll talk a little bit maybe later about how good a job we're coming on.
Right.
But for those people, and you know, Keith, there's a lot of stuff going on, conspiracy theory, vaccines. Senator Fakesi's bill is progressing very nicely through the state Senate on fluoride and all these kinds of things. And people ask all the time, what's the deal with the water? Is it safe? The Bible for public drinking water is the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1974, which basically establishes the EPA and set the rules for us.
Right.
One of those rules is that each year, every water utility has to publish a consumer confidence report. That's on our website, www.tpcw. You just go right there. You can read it. It has all the tests, all the samples, just all the general information.
Right.
What's in the water, what's not in the water. And this is all certified stuff by the EPA as well.
Right.
So people can read it and feel confident that that's the truth.
Right.
We're not hiding anything.
Right.
This is what we treat. And again, sometimes maybe a fire hydrant's been flushed or an accident has occurred where water's been moving fast and you get a little brown water or something happens inside of it and you go, oh, is it any good? It's good. I promise you, it's good. It has to be good or we wouldn't put it in the pipe.
That is correct. That's correct.
And so people need to have the confidence in us that it is. And if you don't believe me, and that's okay.
Right.
Go
check it out.
Check it out.
Your research.
Make up your own. And then, you know, just call the waterworks office, ask for the good-looking guy. They'll put you right through to me, and I'll be happy to answer any question that you might have concerning the drinking water.
Right. Well, and you talk about how important drinking water is. One of the things that I just think sometimes we take for granted as we celebrate May 4th through 10th is Drinking Water Week. So we're celebrating Drinking Water Week. We use it for so many different things. I love the little discussion point about after a workout, right?
Yep.
With your coffee, with your bath, like hot or cold. Yeah. We use it for so many things.
Some of the T-shirts that I have in my collection say, you know, no drinking water, no coffee. No drinking water, no beer.
Yeah.
No drinking water, no ice.
Right.
No ice cold beer.
Right.
So yes, it is important. And again, I'm sure people get their water bills and say, oh my gosh, but I mean, we're looking at $3.60, 1,000 gallons delivered to your house. You can't buy two 16.9 ounce bottles of water for $3.60.
No, you cannot.
And every bit as clean and safe as anything that you're going to get in the bottle.
Right.
But we have a lot of people that are well trained and work very hard with a lot of assets. Your waterworks here is worth more than $100 million. When you count our treatment plants, our pipes in the ground, our buildings, our pump stations, all those kinds of things that it takes to make good water every day.
Right.
And
an incredibly competent and supportive and committed staff.
Thank you. I would
Right?
certainly agree with that, with no doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know it because every time you come on for some event, we're talking about people who are spending hours, including yourself,
Sure.
making sure that we're addressing that event.
And the staff that we have, I feel they're really very passionate about water. And so typically when you're passionate about something, if it's your hobby or your job or anything else, you kind of lose track on time. So while we do have time clocks that punch you in and out, most of the people come to work, do their work, and then whenever they finish, regardless of what time it is, they'll get up and walk out. But we are very fortunate to have a lot of dedicated, passionate employees to take care of your water.
You know, we talk about that as we're not always aware of how good things are. There's not in every area do they have people on call on the weekends
We do.
to address things, but we do.
24 hours a day,
Right?
7 days a week. Yes, sir.
And so that's just another
sir.
one of those things. It's another one of those levels that's really cool. I like the fact that we started off by some of the things that are where the EPA says we have to do,
Yep.
and what we're going to be able to talk about, because I want us to be able to take a break. But when
Sure.
we come back, I love the fact that the grades are in,
Yep.
because not only did we pass, but we passed beautifully
Yep.
in all
Third
the
year in a
tests that
row.
we were in.
3 years.
3 years in a row.
Since its inception.
And again, this is one of those things where they just put that in 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, this year. We know that our water is safe, and we know because of the way it's being tested, and we know of how we have done a good job of being able to bring great drinking water.
We certainly
So we're going to take a break when we come back.
Good.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys, stick with us. Mike will be right back as well. I want to talk about the grades being in and talk a little bit about water. Don't go anywhere. Got a whole lot more right here on HTV.
This segment was brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. Your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And very glad to have back with us Mike Sober. Mike, thanks for joining us once again.
Always nice to be here. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
we appreciate that. Well, Mike, we talked a little bit about the grades being in as you serve as the general manager for Terrebonne Consolidated Waterworks. Let's talk about the grades in our two systems that we are so very excited about.
So 3 years ago, actually in 21, I believe, the state legislature, because of complaints from their constituents, our voters, about the quality of water, charged the Louisiana Department of Health with coming up a standard that each water utility in the state could be judged on.
Right.
And there's a portal that by December 31st, you have to have all their questions answered. They have a lot of the information also already. It's just a check on making sure everybody stays honest.
Right.
And then by May 1st, the reports come out on the portal. As I say, today, this year in 2025, which covered 2024,
Right.
this is the third year in a row that the grades have come out, and we're very proud to say that we continue to have an A rating. That's the best you can get. Can't get any better than that.
A is the best.
A is at the top. A is at the
100
top.
out of 100, 100%.
Yes, sir.
And let's talk about that. This particular flyer tells us a little bit of all the different levels that are tested, right?
Yes, sir. So the first one, if you look at it up on the top, it's the federal water quality. So we talked
Okay.
about the EPA and
Right.
Safe Drinking Water Act. They have all these standards that we have to meet through compliance testing.
Right.
And if it gets bad enough, not only will you lose your points, but the feds will come in and take you over.
Right.
And they'll start running to assure quality water. We have never, we've made mistakes. They've all been corrected in ample time. And so therefore, we've lost no points on following the EPA standards.
30 out of 30 on that
That's
one.
correct. Yes,
Gotcha.
sir. Safe water quality. The state has various rules also that we have to follow. And when you deal with the EPA and the federal government, you can be more stringent than them. You just can't be less stringent.
Gotcha.
So,
As
for
a state.
example, the chlorine residual in the state of Louisiana has to be 0.5. The feds say it has to be 0.2. So you're already 2.5 times more, and we have to follow that because we're in the state.
That's the state.
And of
Got
course,
10 out of
that's it.
10 there.
That's correct. And the next one is financial sustainability. This has gotten a lot of attention because most of us, or I don't want to say nonprofit, but we're a utility, a
Right.
public, most of us are monopolies. We have
Right.
a protected area. You have to charge enough money to keep you in business, because if you sell bonds and you can't meet parity, you're in trouble.
Right.
And so it's one thing for the waterworks to be in trouble, but what do you do with the 125,000 people in Terrebonne Parish that don't have any water?
They need water.
Now what do you do?
Right.
And so that's a very big deal now, and that's come about this year.
Okay. 10
The
out of 10.
infrastructure, same thing.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
it takes pipes to get the water to you. It takes tanks for it to go in and out. It takes pumps to run. All those kinds of things is that.
Well, and look, operations and maintenance, I don't want to skip that one.
No.
That's
no.
awfully important because it talks about what you and your team do every day.
Every day.
And you got rated the highest possible points, 15 out of 15 for it.
No points out. That's correct. I'm sorry, I missed.
No, it's okay. It's just important because I know you don't like taking credit, but it's important for you and your staff to know that from an operational and a maintenance standpoint, things are getting addressed.
You know, and we
immediately.
talked about 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Rain, cold, heat, all this
It
kind of
don't
stuff.
matter.
We're out there fixing pipes
Right.
and going with it. So
Right.
we take it serious.
Yes, sir.
Our one deficiency is customer satisfaction.
Okay.
So we service about 50,000 meters, okay? And if you flip to the other page that's there,
Right.
you will see that our Schriever plant had 15 complaints. Our Houma plant had 13 complaints. That's a whopping 28 plants out of 50,000.
28
So
out of
that's
50,000.
0.00058%. So there have been some comments that, hey, we have a lot of complaints.
Okay.
We're not perfect.
But yeah, well, but and it's not a lot of complaints
But
at all.
I think less than 1%
is really
is not a bad deal.
That's exactly right.
And so while we lost those 10 points,
Right.
the state does give you a little further down to
bonus.
get them back.
Right.
And then, of course, we have secondary contaminants. That's a big catch-all for all the things like disinfectant byproducts and residuals and all
Right.
those things that
Right.
are primary, but maybe the color of the water, the turbidity of the water outside once it leaves, all these kinds of things are secondary. They're
Right.
important, but they're not really important to your health.
Right. And
To your health.
we got to max out of that.
That's correct. And then you get the bonus. And in our case, we have an asset management plan, a program that we know when things are breaking. And when they break so many times in a certain area, we say, hey, it's time to go change those pipes. And
Right.
that's what we follow. Same
Right.
thing with our elevated tanks. When we have problems, we go and that's all in there. Our Board of Commissioners, which are appointed by the Terrebonne Parish government, they've all been management trained on what my job is and to make sure I and the rest of us do what's expected of us.
Gotcha. And not only that, but you can't get much better than this.
Pretty hard, bro.
It's really, and so if people hear anything today is that you have graded excellent, 100%.
Correct.
100 out of 100. Mike, congratulations
Thank you.
to you
We
and your
appreciate
team.
that. And
Thank
just-
you for sharing it with us because
Our
we want
pleasure.
people to know how
Our
well
pleasure.
things are going.
We're all good.
And those
Thank
kinds
you
of
so
things.
much.
All right, my friend.
Appreciate
you
it.
let us know if we can do anything for you.
Likewise. Thank
All
you.
right, you got it. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. But don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.